Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show, Voices of Hope, Healing Together. I'm your host, Barbara Golar. And today we're very excited to be covering this topic, healing through the arts, creativity as a path to recovery. And actually, before we go on, I want to welcome our audience, in-studio audience. I love having an in-studio audience. It brings a different kind of energy for us here. And I'd like to also welcome those that's watching us on TV and those that's watching us on our YouTube channel. And so I'm so excited actually. And I'm going to give you a few minutes to gather your family around because you'll really want to hear this amazing panel that we have with us in studio, because we're going to be talking about the arts. And there's different levels of the arts. It's a whole gamut of things in regards to the world of the arts. So, are you there? Okay, great. So at this time, I'd love to welcome our panel, and I'm going to have you introduce yourselves. So without any further ado, welcome panelists. Oh, I'm sorry, before we do that, I know we welcome Ebony back from being out.
Thank
you. So happy you're back with us.
I'm happy to be here.
Yes. Okay. So sorry about that. You all know me by now, even though we just recently met. But I'm scattered all over the place. But it's a good thing. Yes. So anyway, panelists.
Want to go first?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Hufrish Patel, and I have a background in psychology and art. Currently, I am a docent at the Getty Center, and I do school tours for kids from K to 12, and I also do graphic design on the side. So I'm kind of just immersed in everything artistic, and I really feel that's a very important part of life.
Hello, my name is Katana Walker, and I own a healing arts center here in Monrovia, so seems fitting that you invited me. Thank you. I am a certified holistic health coach, sound healer, and Pilates instructor, and basically used all three to heal myself, and now I'm sharing them to help others heal themselves as well.
Thank you.
And we're located on Foothill. It's a beautiful space. Lots of different ways we use art as a way to heal thyself.
Yes. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tanya Gotze. I just graduated UC Santa Cruz with majoring in psychology. And arts-wise, I've been in dance and theater for a big portion of my life. So, yeah.
Thank you. And, I'm so excited. Because all of those things, all of that, is so exciting about really being able to heal ourselves. Wow.
That's where it comes from.
Yes. And I want to share this before we go on, is that, just recently, well, actually all of you over there, that we had a care-a-thon. And, just lost my train of thought, but that's okay. And the painter, the artist that was painting, because I just haven't painted it's been a while. So I mentioned that to her. So she gave me a deadline.
Oh.
Yes. So by the end of February, I have to complete an art piece.
Oh, amazing.
I know it. And it really got me to thinking, I go, because I miss it. Because I also, it was very relaxing for me. Mm-hmm. So I painted, I made some mask on a mat, on a canvas, and I recreated it was already a mask, but I turned it in, I changed the face to be African mask.
Cool.
And so that was really relaxing. And I used to have a greeting card business, so I created these greeting cards. And then I also love, because I'm a former kindergarten teacher, so the arts. So I also did making jewelry. I did that. I didn't like that. I did not like that.
No. At least you tried it.
Yes. That was not relaxing for me at all.
You don't know until you try.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as far as dance, I love to dance. I'm dramatic, so I love I love to act. I don't do any of that, but dance, yeah, I do. But acting, I don't do any of that, but I'm dramatic, so all these things that you guys talked about, that's me, okay? And so some of those things I miss, but because she gave me a deadline, it just sparked something in me, so I'm really, really excited about that.
It's very cool. I actually grew up dancing. My mom had a dance studio here in Monrovia on Myrtle and Lemon back in the 80s called Ricky Lugo Dance Center. Wow. And
Myrtle and Lemon.
The brick building.
Oh, yes.
That's my mom.
Oh.
So she's 85 and actually still teaching from her wheelchair. She's still teaching ballet and tap. So I actually grew up as a dancer, and I found it really interesting when I first started the conversation letting you guys know that I had trouble thinking of myself as a creative person, because all my dancing was learned, right?
Oh, got it.
It was structured, it was the techniques, and then the choreography was someone else's making it up. I'm executing it, and I was really good at executing it, but I never felt that I was able to make it up. Like I didn't feel like I could choreograph the piece. I could execute the piece, but I couldn't dream it up myself. Or when I did, I felt like it was everything I learned from my mom. So I still felt like it was hers and not coming from me.
Like imposter syndrome?
Very much. So
very interesting.
That's why I told you yesterday on the phone, I've been working on that, of figuring out how I can feel creative and not just I'm learning all my skills and good at executing them. But and that was a big flip in my brain.
And with you sharing that, that never crossed my mind, and that totally makes sense.
Back in the day when I was, my 20s and we would go clubbing, I could get out and bust a move and dance. But if I'm at a wedding,
she said bust a move.
I could bust it out.
Yeah.
But if I felt eyes on me, I'd get very self-conscious. I'd feel like I was being judged, like I was, like at an audition or something. So it was very difficult for me to just dance freely and not it be choreography. So I actually am looking into, the ecstatic dancing and, that stuff. The free form,
yes.
So difficult for me.
Well, that's very interesting, because also when I was teaching, because I'm all in the arts, so and I taught kinder, my kids had to write, and then I did choreograph some music pieces, dance pieces, but they also had a time that they could just bust a move. Yes.
Yeah.
I really like, I haven't said that in a long time. I really like that.
I think it's a sign. We all need to
Bust a move, that's right. That's right.
But that's the play.
And you're old enough so you can come with us, girl.
Oh, she probably knows the best places. We're all outdated.
Oh.
Yeah, as long as it, the last call is 9 p.m., I'm good. But yeah, it's definitely, and we lose that when they're kids. They don't have those hang-ups of free dancing. It's when we get older and start feeling like, oh, people are going to think that's weird or silly, or we hinder ourselves. I've been unraveling that for myself the last few years of just why would I be without the worry of the judgments, So just letting yourself imagine.
I have a question for all of you. How did you feel in your different you acting and dancing, and you doing what you do, and you know, you listed so many things. And you doing your thing.
Me doing my thing. Well, how do I feel about that?
Yeah,
well, so actually, hanging on to what Tawny said was, I do art interpretation or art expression at the Getty with kids K to 12, and I realized the not having any biases when the kids come there and they're looking at these pieces that cost millions of dollars, you know, from like 3 centuries ago, and they come there and they're like completely unbiased. They're like blank, and they're looking at it with these really fresh eyes. And I think that is what I enjoy the most about this, is to have kids come in that otherwise would not have access to these pieces, and then to see the different interpretations of the same piece from different kids from different backgrounds, different schools, different ages. And I think I really love the whole journey that takes me through, and I learned so much from it. So it's just really fulfilling.
Yeah. You know, and piggyback on that before you guys answer, is that when I was teaching, it drove me crazy, because in the beginning we had these art pieces that was copied. So they're coloring in. Now, granted, it is important that you know how to color in, because that's a different skill that you're learning. But when you're going in and creating, you know, we also had pre-cut out stuff that they had to put together, and you put it on the board, and they were supposed to copy that. That drove me crazy. You know, and then when I refused to do it anymore, then just let them to be free, then I also had to teach my kids, my students, that they go, oh, look at that. You know, they start, you know, criticizing. I go, no. That is what he or she wants. I said, you go, but that's not right. I go, who's to say that's not right? That's what they see. Look at yours. You know, I don't want all of these to look the same. I don't want all the same color. I don't want any of that, unless that's what you're choosing.
And that's one of the main things that I tell my students when they come in. I'm like, ask me questions, you know, open up. There's no right answers. There's no wrong answers.
Yes.
There's no right questions. So don't be embarrassed that you're going to say something wrong, because art is in how you look at it.
Yes.
It's not like, we don't know what that artist was thinking when he painted this. It could be totally different from what you're thinking. But it's not right or wrong. It's what you're carrying inside you that is going to affect how you interpret the piece of art. So,
and there was one period of time that I would just bring in a piece and I say, I wouldn't even say, what do you see? I said, what do you feel when you see this? Because I wanted them to start feeling, you know, getting really in tune. Because also at the same time, we were teaching, you know, because somebody did something to them, well, I don't like to all this. And then I go, well, how did it make you feel? So along that line, you know, to keep that on, going on, is to really get in touch with your feelings.
Which isn't celebrated, I don't think, in our culture.
No.
People like to hide or shove down their feelings, and that's why we don't believe we are the creators, you know? And it reminds me of just my spiritual journey, I guess, in my life of being that kid that feels free, and then noticing when I started putting my walls up. I remember this distinctly at 8, right? Then 9, then 10. And I remember certain instances that made me shape my own personality to what I thought people wanted to see. And I feel like I, you know, shaped my adulthood as that. And now my 40s have been unraveling that. Like peeling off
unlearning all of that.
Unlearning all that, like, who's Tawny? Like the kid Tawny, you know, that doesn't care what you think, basically. And it's just, And I'm curious, speaking right now, it really makes me feel that maybe that's a human journey we have right now of being those open vessels when we're kids of, imagination and receiving, and then being thrown into this world where we have to make our way, and that is structured and it's, kind of set for us how to do it. So we think we know how to do it. And then it's, for all of us, is kind of breaking that away to still reveal the you inside. I feel like we all tend to do that. It's like the young kids and the older generations are more in tune with that. It's that mid time where you're so busy and hectic and just worried about career and everything else.
That'll be interesting to hear from Tanya because she's in that stage.
Yeah.
I was just saying the same thing.
And that makes sense because I do feel that way because I've pretty much stopped dancing and stopped acting because of just school, and I've been so focused on that for the past 5 years that I haven't really done anything too creative that whole time. And when for me, when I was younger, dancing and acting are the only times where I wouldn't feel self-conscious. I wouldn't even realize oh, people are watching me, people are looking at me. When I was younger, I was always a very shy, very quiet kid and very self-conscious of myself.
You?
Yeah.
And I just met you.
And so, but even when I did dance, I would forget all of that. I wouldn't even be I wouldn't look in the mirror and see myself at all. I would just dance and not really be aware that was me in the mirror. So that felt very freeing, and now I'm in that stage where I don't have the time, but I should probably make the time to do these things now, and hopefully circle back to that feeling. So
Yeah, that's good because some of the psychological benefits of art is it can help you boost your self-esteem. It can help you reduce trauma symptoms. Let's say if you were afraid to dance in front of people, the more and more you expose yourself to that, now you're dancing again, you see. And it's very good to help you burn off anxiety. It can help with depression. So, there's lots and lots of healing in art. And especially the more you engage in it and the more you express yourself and you dig deeper, like you guys were talking about, it's important to be in tune with how you feel when you're doing your art, because that can help you come over certain things. I have a lot of clients that'll come in and they're like, okay, well, are we drawing today? And I'm like, yeah, let's draw. And they're like, oh, I don't want to do it. But the more and more we're doing it, now they're like, oh yeah, I remember this when I was a kid, this, and you're able to connect it back to that time. So art is very helpful.
Yeah. Is it true that you actually rewire neural pathways when you practice something enough? And I think that's one of the things with art is that it's hard to get back into it, but the more you do it, the more your brain rewires to those feelings of endorphins that make you feel good and then give you the self-esteem. And so it's just keep doing it until you get the shift.
Yep.
It's I think that's really important, and that's where at the Getty what we do is we encourage the kids to come back with their families and invite them. And I don't know if everyone knows that, but the Getty is actually free.
Wow.
You do not have to pay to come see the artwork, and so we really just encourage them to come back with their families and kind of be in that space where you can kind of de-stress and form those pathways in your brain.
Yeah, you're right, definitely, because the more and more you do something that brings you joy, the more dopamine your brain releases. And that's what gets you interested in it. And it can keep you interested in it as long as you continue to do it. So you have to be consistent and intentional with all of this. But as long as you do it, even if you're not having the best day, have you ever done something that you enjoyed when you're not having the best day and then you look up, you're like, oh, I feel so much better. Same thing. You have to keep doing it. You have to be intentional and consistent.
It reminds me of my sound healing education, and it was very, very instilled. Sound plus intention equals the healing, not just the sound. And that's with everything, right? It's if you have the presence and the mindfulness behind it. I mean, that's what prayer is. That's what all of it is. Saying grace to your food, right? It's that, and I believe the Creator within us makes that more powerful with that intention. And it's a lot of the sound healing really helped me understand the science behind energy and how that relates and how our consciousness is energy. And right, so I'm like, ooh, it's all blending.
Just like what I said, even, when we have taped the show, when we didn't have an audience, whether it's 1 or 5 or however many, the energy is different in the space. Because I think we did a couple of shows that we didn't have the audience, and it was just us, as opposed to us, because we do interact with the audience.
I think we know that well with the difference between performing with a live audience
Yes.
as opposed to TikTok. Right? You're like, that exchange of energy is incredible.
Yes.
Incredible. And that's where I think, the arts in schools, theater in schools is so important, because when you are watching live theater, the empathy, you don't get that with a screen.
Right.
Yeah.
You get it with the being in the room with it, and you can't help get sucked in.
Yeah.
So healthy.
Yes, yes. I want to also say that you sparked something going back to when the artist, when she gave me this deadline, that first I got nervous, but then I got so excited because that was forcing me to go and do that, and something that I really do love doing, and it's relaxing. Because I was coming up with all these excuses, and she was looking at me like, okay, that's my look when somebody's trying to get out of stuff. So I said, okay, I got it, God, I got it. You send her here, to do this for me, because I've been talking about it. See, well, I don't have the space. All this stuff. Yeah.
All the reasons why I haven't gotten myself back to a dance class. I miss it. I want to move my body, and I have not gotten myself to a dance class.
I think it's about being brave. It's about being brave to start something that you have let go of and that has
Proactive.
almost withered, I would say.
Yeah, okay.
That you have to re-energize, and it takes a lot of bravery to put yourself out there again. Like, I'm sure, being on stage and dancing. Now, I've never been a theater person, but being on stage is daunting, and once you've left it probably takes a while maybe to say I can do it again. I don't know. It just
I don't think it's daunting because we get so much
Really
practice
used to it,
before the audience is there.
Yeah, it's a
Right.
really big build up.
Yeah.
And that's sort of similar to having a deadline, like with theater and stuff. For
Uh-huh.
dance, there's always something big you're working towards.
Yeah.
And
Uh-huh.
that really builds up your energy, it builds up your confidence, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is it. Like, I have to do it now in front of all these people. And the audience energy sort of just boosts that to the
And
same
then
level.
just that working towards a goal, getting to that goal, and how proud you are of yourself. Like, you're just, good job, the pat on the back.
oh
And
my god, I did that.
I did that, and it's a really empowering experience.
Yeah.
So the question. So how is it that we'll get people to understand that everything that we've talked about is healing, and that also we think that we're not creative, like you spoke about, but creativity comes in so many different ways. You can write a poem, a piece of music, or
Cooking is
cooking.
great.
I love cooking. For me, is also therapeutic. I just smelling the different spices, because whatever is up in the cup, I go, what is that gonna look like? I'm putting it together.
And,
it's like colors but with food. You basically just pull it together, and you end up with an art piece.
Yes.
Because when I paint, I do abstracts. So I don't have an idea of what it's going to turn out like, and that's how my cooking is as well.
Yes,
I'll just and not everybody thinks it's great, but it's an interpretation.
okay. It's probably too.
I like it.
She likes it. Okay.
I saw her face getting really like,
It always tastes good.
I found my biggest thing is getting back to that child within, that imagination state, right? It's like, how am I going to create what I want in life if I'm not thinking about it first or picturing it first, right? And it's space and time. We need to give ourselves the space and then the time to sit without your phone and do nothing.
Yeah.
Do nothing. Like actually start listening to that voice in your head. And if you just said, what voice? That voice. That's the voice. Constantly talking to you. And the more, and I also learned with breathing, with breath work.
I was going to.
So the faster you're breathing, the more thoughts per second. And it's something like 30 to 40 thoughts per second in that top brain state. The more you drop it down, and when you get to like the rest and relax, it's like 3 to 4 thoughts per second, not 30 to 40. I could be off on my numbers, but that alone, right? And then it made me think, if you're being like that, you're going all over the place. Yeah. Right? If you could just, and that takes time and space.
It does.
To do that.
It does, and you bring up a good point when you talk about how you're breathing. People who are prone to anxiety, if you're having a panic attack and you're like, now you're really thinking, okay, I'm having a heart attack, I'm panicking, it's not going away. But if you can control your breathing and activate the part of your central nervous system that calms you, then you start to notice, oh wait, it's going down. And that's because your brain was in alarm mode. But once you calm it, the alarm's like, okay, all right, I'm going away, no problem. And now you're calm again. But a lot of people who have panic attacks, they don't realize that because, there's physical symptoms with it, but it's all in how you breathe and the oxygen that you take in. And if you learn how to breathe correctly, you can reduce panic attacks that way. So that's a good point.
And you can actually do that by looking at art. If someone's having a panic attack and you tell them to look at something. That's why I've noticed, like in psychology, you're like, when someone's having a panic attack, you're like, look at me. Look at my eyes.
Yes,
or like
yes,
focus
yes,
on
yes,
something.
yes.
And suddenly the focus is not on their breathing, but it's on a piece of art. Or it's a color. So now tell me what colors you see. And takes the focus away from their panic, and their breathing will just start to slow down. And that's a classic way of how art can actually be used in therapy. Or,
Yeah, we use those as mindful and grounding techniques, paying attention to the things that are around you. So even art, if you see a painting, well, look at it. What texture is that? What colors are used? What do you think the artist was thinking? And that can be very beneficial to people who are experiencing anxiety, even with depression. You can tell a whole story with an art piece and have a person explain what they're feeling by staring at this art piece and learn their interpretation of it. And you can help with depression that way too. Art is very beneficial in therapy.
I have kind of an interesting story that I have kids that come from different backgrounds, as I said, and I'll take them to the same art piece and I'll tell them, imagine this is a storybook. What is the story that this is telling you? And I can distinctly tell kids who are coming from a more traumatic or a background that needs some kind of intervention versus kids who are well balanced, have a stable home, and all that, because the stories they come up with for the same painting will be completely different. Somebody will tell a story, oh, this one's going to murder this one, and this one's having an affair with this one, and they hate each other, and da-da-da. And then the same painting, some other kids, not somebody, these are kids.
Right.
They'll come and say, oh, that's a mom and dad, and they live in this house, and they're cooking dinner, or da-da-da. And you can totally tell what that kid has inside them by these stories. And this is all in like a half an hour, 1 hour tour that I do it with. But
Well, it shows you that
interesting.
perception is reality, right?
Yeah. But sometimes it could be what they want.
That's true too.
You
What they want to see. Yeah.
Because
But most of the time it's their experience.
Yes, I know, but I still wanted to flip that because
That's true.
sometimes that does it, and I'm only saying that because
Projection.
I'm only saying that because it happened to me twice with my students in kindergarten when I'm knowing what's going on, and they would come and tell me all these wild stories, and I mean this was before I knew all these were some wild stories, and so matter of fact, I congratulated the mom for XYZ stuff, and she looking at me like I was crazy. Like, what are you talking about? And I said, but this is what he said. She goes, no. And then I found out that there was other stuff going on at
that is
home.
so interesting.
And this is what I had a little girl. She did the same thing, exact same thing. Two different families,
Wow.
And what was even crazier, I mean, I don't want to use that word. What was even really interesting to me is that two separate families, and both parents living at the home. So this was not a single family home. So I just thought, wow, that was just
Maybe the story they wanted other
yes.
people to think or
yes.
What's happening?
Yeah.
That is very interesting.
Yeah, either way, it lets you know, okay, it's something that the child needs or
Yeah,
wants,
that's
or there's
what-
something going on that's making this child's
a red
imagination
flag.
move that way.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Definitely.
Definitely a
And
red
then
flag.
what I found out is that not only were they telling me, they were going out telling other people the same story. And then I said, well, they're either going to be very good storytellers, they write wonderful novels, nonfiction books, or they need to go see somebody, at this age that they're telling these wild stories.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
And none of that was happening at home.
right.
It was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there's something to say we're trying to speak something into existence.
Yes,
sense,
yes,
you
yes.
know?
Manifestation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which you never know how that will work out for individuals.
Yes,
you
and
know?
then I don't really know what was going on at home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because we here in this group are understanding the importance of art because that's our background, we've had it, but there's a whole world out there of people who are so resistant to the idea that art actually has any
Yes.
meaning at all.
Yeah.
Like who's talking about feelings with art and stuff, so it's I think in one of your other shows you talked about like biases that people have and perceptions, and it's so important to try to break those and make art a more acceptable and uniform platform for people to express themselves, instead of just being like, oh, art's only for these little kooky people, or like, they're called theater kids. There's like almost like a
because they're artsy.
artsy.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's about breaking that cycle, about making it feel like, oh, you're like this, versus
I think
this
it's
is normal.
also not. It's also not. It's really hard to put things into those categories because I think that, like, just living is art.
Especially nowadays,
Waking up in the morning.
Try saying that to a doctor or
But that's
an
what I mean.
engineer or
That's
something,
what I mean. That's very
Yeah.
clinical.
Yeah.
There's the clinical world, and then there's the creative world, and it's like you can't separate them sometimes.
You
They
can't, because
start-
I think even engineers and doctors and all, what they do, not that they're creative otherwise, but what they do is creative.
Yeah.
And they sometimes don't look at it that what you're doing is art, actually.
Right.
When you're doing surgery, it's art. Yeah. When you're writing a program, it's art.
Yes.
It all...
just your own penmanship is
Yeah,
art.
exactly.
You know.
Your signature
Yeah.
is your
But we
very
don't-
personal stamp of art.
That's taken me a
You
long
worked
time
so
to
hard
realize.
to have the impact that your signature is going to have, and you don't realize you're actually practicing art.
Right, and it has a lot of expression behind it too. Have you ever signed something when you're not in a good mood and it's just
Yeah.
You're like, I can tell I was mad that day.
yeah, so you even express yourself through your signatures and penmanship. So that's art is very powerful.
And you're creating something, it's coming into manifestation, so now it has even more power to it as well. So, yeah.
Well, this actually brings me to inviting our audience to share their thoughts or whatever. And I have to say this because today we don't have a mic for the audience, so we will repeat what you say.
Okay. And I was, as I've been listening, I'm thinking that the real issue is about creativity and focus. Because when you are being creative, you are very focused on whatever it is you're doing. Because focus gets your brain doing that. It's just, it wipes out everything else, and you're just looking straight ahead, and you're focusing on a specific area or whatever. When I'm drawing or painting, I don't hear anything else. It all goes away, and I'm just working on my project. And I think that you were saying that is true of every area of activity out there. That's what it's about, and that humans are naturally creative, and we tend to stick it into, oh well, you're artistic, that makes you creative. So then all the other folks who are not in the art area, they start thinking, well, you know, they don't give themselves the value that they need to have, which is that they are creative in their particular field. He was saying that. It's and that is really important when you're working with children, because that that attitude starts when we're very young.
Yeah,
True.
Yeah.
You know, and we have to be really careful as the adults, as parents, as teachers, as whoever's, to nurture creativity in our children. You know, we have to focus on them and help them learn to focus on themselves and what they're doing at a very early age, so that that comes naturally to them, and then they stand up straight. Yes, I'm creative. Yes, I am.
Absolutely.
Really important.
Well, as you can hear, she's a former teacher, art teacher. So you want to summarize what she said?
Okay, so no, that's a very good point that she makes, you know, being able to nurture creativity in children and being able to silence, you know, the distractions while you're focused on your work. And because that focus will help you then dive in, and like I was saying too, you know, being quiet and just being able to get in tune with yourself so that you can create. Now, you don't have to have anything directly in mind, but you're just going to go in there to create. And I think what was important was when she brought up the silence, being able to focus, because once you're able to calm the distractions around you, you are able to then get in tune with what you're doing, you know, and focus on what you're doing and notice things as you're doing it and feel it. And another thing she brought up that I thought was very interesting, and I think you did too, you're bringing up the child experience. And so one thing in psychology that's very interesting that we learn is that we all, as a child, we name things and we compartmentalize things based on our experience and how we viewed the world at that time. So as we grow older, whether we were involved in dance at one time and we stopped, there was something that happened that made you say, you know what, I'm not going to do this anymore. And as you're growing older, now you're digging through it, you know, depending on how hard that was on you, you're digging through it to try to figure it out. But everything, all of our experiences, it helps us start to make thoughts, automatic thoughts that we have about things. So whether, oh, I don't want to dance anymore. Well, why don't you want to dance anymore? What happened? You know, there's something going on there because you had an experience that created this thought in your head. So now when you think of dancing, I don't want to do that. And it goes deeper. It actually goes deeper. So it's important to nurture the childhood experience, especially when they're being creative, and let them know, like, hey, you know, this is nice. You know, tell me a little bit more about that, so they feel like they have a voice and they can overcome things through that art experience. That was a good point.
May I chime in as well? So everything she was saying reminded me of, because I teach meditations. I teach how to meditate, which is very elusive, the how.
Yeah.
But that's what I have concluded is everything is a meditation when you are focused, because and that's what it is. When I was first learning how to meditate, it's like, okay, picture a red rose and just focus on the red rose. That wasn't doing it for me. You know, it's like, okay, there's a rose. Oh, I hear a gardener. And I really tried, but it was actually took an activity, whether it is my adult coloring book, right?
Those are wonderful.
Oh my gosh, like talk about, I just meditated. You know, like you just don't even realize that any kind of, I mean, putting together an IKEA furniture. Oh yeah. You know,
Actually, true. I was just going to say
those moments of that focus That's what meditation is. That's what meditation is able to tune your thoughts and focus to something where that distraction does go away.
Or a math problem.
Yeah. So
For some
even
people,
when I
that's
teach meditation, it's like, well, let's find what works for you, because that could be anything. That could be anything as long as it sucks you in.
Yeah.
You know, which is what performing is as well. That's why our shyness goes away, because it's just
You're focused on that internal.
focused on the performance and you know what I have to do, and then the adrenaline. It's like it's not till you're off stage do you go, oh my gosh, I just did that. You know.
That's very true.
That's true.
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I am. When music comes on, I can be talking to you, and if it hits my soul, then it's on. You know, and I don't care who's around or where I'm at. None of that. It just starts moving.
Busting the move.
Yeah, right.
We're back to that.
Well, here's the thing with music that I started realizing is my husband's an ex-DJ, so he has all the genres, every decade you can imagine, and knows every lyric. It's really fun. But I notice what songs make me go, oh my gosh, right? And I'm a very gut instinct person, so I feel it in my gut, like, oh. He noticed that every time I would do that, it was minor tones. Which is very weepy and kind of sad, and it just pulls on my heartstrings. Give me major tone songs, it's fun, but it's all the minor tones that I'm just like, oh my heart.
Wow.
And I realized that I have 2 dogs. One's a minor tone dog, one's a major. My minor tone Astro, my big boy, he's just, even when his tail's wagging, he looks a little sad. You know, the ears just, the puppy dog, he's my minor tone dog, and it just melts my heart. So I found that I get affected whether it's pulling my heart or not, just what tone it is.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Everything pulls us. Everything is energy.
Everything. Yes,
So we get
absolutely.
swayed.
As much as I like music, there is some music that I will be like, oh, hell no. So, I mean, I guess I have a pull to some kind of music. You know, not all, some kind.
Yeah.
So,
Or indifference too.
True. Yeah. But yeah, different people, different, what do they call it? Different tunes?
Strokes
Different
for
strokes.
different
Strokes. You know,
Let's get all that.
y'all young. I think it's Sly and the Family Stones do different strokes for different folks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyday people. Yeah.
Oh, there's a song?
Yeah, there's a song.
Okay.
You see?
Yeah, I know that song.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I'm trying to think of the rest of the song. I'm going to chime into it.
We'll get to it.
We'll have an episode called Bust a Move.
Oh, yeah. Oh, see, you started that.
Okay, make us dance again.
You took a beat on that. Come out.
But what I found with movement and not doing it is the restless leg syndrome in the body. Like you just want to like stretch and like exude those muscles and everything. It really shows you how your physical vessel is a way to express.
Yeah.
A way to express and to get those emotions out. Yeah. You know? It's all creativity.
There's a book, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Called The Body Keeps the Score. And so it talks about how your experiences shows up on your body.
So my sound healing course, so they talked about our biofield. It extends 6 feet outside of us in all directions, right? So, and we store our past traumas and emotions in said field because we can only store so much in the body. As we age, we have to push them out to make room for the new traumas. I need more space. Well, the 6 feet outside of you is birth. 3 feet in is half of your lifetime ago, and then it goes to more present recent years. I'm not there yet, but there are sound healers out there that can take the tuning fork and scan your field, and they explain it like there's you think of sound waves, waves and patterns. That there's almost like a knot or a kink in that field. And the sound healer can tune and go through and suddenly hear, and they'd be like, "Oh, did you break your right leg at 13?" Like pinpoint the things that you're walking around with. So that's where sound healing can help. What the tuning forks do is we draw
love the
those
tuning
back
forks.
into
Yes.
the body
Really.
where the body can alchemize and release it. But you can't do anything with it when it's out in your field. You have to do it on the internals.
Interesting.
So I just found that,
like that.
so wild. It's so cool. It's
You know,
so
this
cool.
has been so much fun.
It's
We are a good group. This is a good team
we are
right
a
here.
Good creative artistic group.
Totally.
Wow.
It's all related.
Just thank you for
Yes,
getting
it
us
is.
together. We really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
I love talking about this stuff, man. You can get me here all the time. What are we talking about now? It's the best. Honestly, it's the best show on earth is unraveling this thing called life.
Yeah.
Oh,
True, isn't it?
very, very
You
true.
know, and like we have Netflix to distract ourselves from and sports games and things like that, but it is such a more fulfilling show if you go within
Yes.
and alchemize and work your own life instead of just looking outside of it happening to other people,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's
But sometimes I find looking at the other people
there's inspiration.
pinpoints things that you need to work on. You're like, oh, I identify with that.
True.
Maybe that's something I need to look deeper into for myself. Or, or something that you didn't know that you were carrying. And you're like, wait a minute, that happened to me. Should
wanna
I be
explore
feeling that
that.
way? Or
Yeah.
did I suppress it? Did I overreact? Or
Yeah.
whatever, you know? So those are maybe like guidelines
Absolutely.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Can
Because
be.
just sometimes being in your head is like a
No,
hamster wheel.
It's not a good
You still
place
have
to
to
be.
go
It's not
out
going
there.
as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Yes.
then I think it's also then looking at said people around you as those lessons.
Yeah,
You know, and taking something from each experience,
Yes.
whether it's good or bad.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
Jeez,
I
say
could
something.
really continue to talk and talk. This is really fun.
It is. I know we went way over, I think.
Oh, we're
I think
good.
she's-
We're
I
good.
think we have
We're
an audience
good. Yeah,
member.
yeah, we do. This is really, really good and very uplifting as well. So, and we have any more comments from the audience?
No, but you guys were talking, and I noticed things got really going and got really moving when you guys, and when we talk, we give up talking about whether something is good or bad. We
Oh,
let the judgment go away.
Yes,
Just-
yes.
Just release it, because it is stifling. Judgment is stifling. It
Yes.
really is. If you just let it roll and see what happens. And if you look at it and you go, I don't really like that, guess what? You can change it.
Yes.
You can change. There are all kinds of things that seem impassable that actually can be changed. And unfortunately, especially my deal is with kids, I worked with them a long time, is that children, we teach children that, there's right and wrong, and you can't, if you don't do it this way, you're wrong, and you're gonna, go to hell, and just go everywhere with it, when in fact, none of that's true. Every action has a consequence. It does, and you have to look at it and say, okay, I said this, I did this, and this was the reaction, the consequence of my words or my action. I caused that to happen. That's important to understand that. Now, judgmentally, that's a whole nother area, but to be aware of the fact that you can cause something to happen is so important.
Yeah.
Is so important, because that's where the positive, the creativity comes in and says, oh, I did that. I made that happen.
Yeah.
Oh, not good or bad. If it came out good, yahoo. If it came out bad, okay, now let me figure out what I can do to change this. Because that's the point you have to come to. And we have to help children understand that. It actually is almost, I would say okay, but I don't want to sound wrong, that if you make a mistake, we make mistakes. Hello, we make them all the time. And children have to understand that, and adults have to understand that too, is we make mistakes all the time, and we have to look at it and say, focus comes back. How can I do this differently next time? Can I fix this? Yeah, maybe not. You know, I mean, sometimes you can't fix something that you did, and you have to accept that that happened. That's your responsibility.
Right.
But your creativity is the key, because it helps you figure out how you're going to fix it or change it.
Yeah.
That's what creativity does. It helps you figure out how you're going to do something, and that's the real key for creativity. That's so important. So important.
Wow, I like the ending, the point that creativity can help you figure out how to fix something, because it's true. Even for parents, as you're bringing up your children, you find creative ways to deal with your children in different ways, whether it's veering off from cultural teachings or just what your parents taught you. You find different things, and those different things are creative, so to speak. And so that's a really good point that you made there too. And also the judgment, you know, self-judgment too is very, very harmful, because if you have an inner belief about anything, that belief alone will stifle you. It will stop you from being able to move forward. It will stop you from pursuing things that you may be even passionate about. And so being able to move past that by using your creativity to see, how can I fix this, instead of looking at it good or bad, that is the best thing that you can do for yourself. When you're dealing with yourself, no good or bad. It's just, I didn't really like how that felt, so let me use my creativity to see how I can fix this. And that was an amazing point.
Thank you, thank you. Like I said, we are really now to the end.
Thank you, Barbara.
So any closing remarks that the panelists like to leave our viewers?
Everyone looked at me.
and I looked at you too. I don't know that
I did. I was
Okay, so you're on, girl.
Well, I think something that could be great moving forward is just really in that high school, middle school to high school area, is we really should be focusing on giving kids like a creative, artistic outlet. Like theater was so important to me, and like to help me get out of the shell that I was in high school, and just to think about how, like, you know, people have been so focused on STEM and funding STEM related things, especially in schools, and I'm just like, I don't think this is a good idea. I think we should be, you know, focusing, you know, the same amount onto the arts as we do to STEM. And I see that sort of diminishing in schools, so I really hope that that outlet is there.
I have to say this because I'm going to forget, which is also doesn't make any sense, because you know, you're using these creative juices to create whatever, but also that leads you to be able to do STEM.
Yeah. If you're not creative, you can't do STEM.
Yes.
I've seen like people say these things about like dystopian stories of like, you know, terrible things that happen to humanity because of like one person or something. They're like, oh, this is what happens when you only take STEM classes without the humanities classes. Like this is like when you don't take philosophy, you don't take psychology, you don't take like these social studies that have just as much importance to like do good things instead of backtrack.
Yeah. Thank you. And I'm sorry that I had to interject that.
So that was good.
I think I just want to leave for myself as well, where what I'm taking from today is remembering that everything we do is created from us, so we must be the creative being, right? From what we choose to wear in the morning, to eat, to drink, to how we express ourselves.
Bust a move.
How we bust a move all day long. And I think I just really want everyone to realize that, give themselves the space and the time to imagine their lives better. Imagine what it feels like, and when it comes to your emotions, that's your indicator of where you're vibing and what you're putting out there, right? So notice your feelings and just try to imagine your life, the best life you can ever dream of. Don't be shy and feel it. I think if we feel your way to it, that's where it starts coming to fruition. And imagine. I think imagination for adults is where we need to get back to.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I am the last one to close up then, and I'm trying to think how to encompass everything that we've talked about today. And I think it's I've just led my life that way. I've always been like, trying to balance the practicality with my more whimsical and artistic side. And I think even as a mom, I try to kind of teach my kids the balance, because after all, we have art that has to keep you going, and without art you can't get to the other parts. Without creativity you can't get to the other parts. Even a mathematician is creative. Without his creativity he wouldn't reach whatever he has to reach. And I think my main goal, I would be with these kind of talks, is to break that bias. Is that art is not artsy fartsy. Art is life, and you can't do anything without it.
Oh, I like that.
So,
Nice.
You want to leave us with parting words, my dear?
I would say it's very important for everyone, especially during these times that we live in, to just enjoy the experience, because we're talking about art and being creative, and it doesn't have to always be on canvas. Even in your mind you can be creative. Even, just day to day you can be creative. So it's important for us to be able to dive deep and just experience life, and use the experience that you have with life as a way for you to, like, if you're dealing with something, use your experience to see how you can create a better world for yourself, a better life, a better experience for your children, anything. Because it doesn't always have to be painting, molding, and stuff like that. Just like you said, art is life. And if you look at it from a more creative standpoint, and as you being a creative being, you can create the very thing that you want, or the very things that may have hurt you in the past. You can overcome them, and you can create a new one if you just tap into yourself and use that creativity.
Thank you.
That was very good. I had something else I was going to end with, but I can't. No. That was wonderful. Thank you. And thank all of you. This has been, wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This has been so uplifting. Now I might finish that painting she told me to do, but before February. The end.
You can do two.
Oh, yeah. Wait a minute now.
Ooh, that'd be nice.
Don't be doing that.
Challenge number 2.
She said only one.
Okay. Anywhere to start.
Yes. So once again, thank you so much, our audience here. Thank you for your comments, and thank you, those of you out there listening. And I hope you tune in for our next show. And once again, this is Voices of Hope, Healing Together. See you next time.